I did some study on the word spiritual in the New Testament, in the Bible as a whole, and I found some what I thought were interesting things. Number one, the word spiritual shows up one place in the Old Testament. It's in Hosea, and when you look at the original language, it really is more, it's not really spiritual, it's spirit. But it's translated spiritual for our understanding from the Old Testament. In the New Testament, you will not find the word spiritual anywhere in any of the Gospels. Well, I was kind of surprised by that. We find it I think it's about 30 times from Romans on through Peter. Nearly half of those are in this book. If you go back to, maybe 6th, 7th grade English class, or if English is your second language, maybe it was earlier on in your particular course of study, but in the idea of the grammar and types of words, the word spiritual in the English, as well as in the original language in these contexts, is an adjective or it's an adverb. It's not a noun. Spirit is noun. John tells us, actually Jesus tells us in the Gospel of John, God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. It's a noun, spirit. This is an adjective, spiritual, the things pertaining to the Spirit. Listen to the things that the word spiritual modifies as an adjective or adverb in the New Testament. Here, of course, spiritual gift. In Romans 7:14, the law is spiritual. Another place in Romans, spiritual things. Again, earlier in 1 Corinthians, spiritual things. He who is spiritual, so describing the nature of a person. You're a spiritual person. Spiritual people, spiritual things, spiritual food and spiritual drink. We saw that a couple chapters before in talking about the children of Israel going through the wilderness. Spiritual gifts is mentioned a lot of times here in this context. Let's see. Spiritual body. You who are spiritual, a spiritual blessing, spiritual songs, spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places, spiritual understanding, again, spiritual songs, spiritual sacrifices, build up a spiritual house. Okay, I think I've made my point. It's an adjective or adverb. It's modifying, describing the nature of other things, that some things that are things or people can be spiritual, and Paul has told us it could be spiritual or carnal. It can be driven by the natural thoughts, feelings, expressions of a human being, carnal, or spiritual, being driven by the Spirit.